What's up guys, Maximilian here, back with some more impressions of games at E3 and the ones that I was really looking forward to, and it's more specifically the fighting games. And the one I want to talk about right now is probably one of the most anticipated fighting games ever at this point. And this game is turning a lot of heads, and it absolutely deserves it, and it's made me a believer in more ways than one, and it's Mortal Kombat X. I literally had the opportunity to play around 2 hours of this game with a couple of Mortal Kombat diehard friends, so this is an impressions based off the demo that was available at E3 behind the scenes, and we literally had about 2 hours to just grind on the game and learn as much as we possibly can and figure out a lot of crazy stuff with the game. And there's a lot here, so let's get started. The biggest one and one of the most important things that I recognize in fighting games is the presentation. And the presentation of this game is really good as far as just graphics and characters and how things look and move. They've done a fantastic job. The game seems to run at 1080p and 60 frames per second, at least from the demo, and I've been hearing that has also been confirmed for consoles or PS4 or something. It did look like it from what we were playing, and we were playing with PlayStation 4 controllers, so it looked extremely good. And even my first impression of seeing the game live, I was noticing the fact that, whoa, the animations look amazing, and oh my gosh, the effects look really cool, the backgrounds, the characters, just seeing things in motion in-game was really impressive to me, and that was just blowing my mind when I first saw the game and I had that live action reveal. And now you see it in person running at the frame rate it's supposed to and looking the way it should, and it's just, the game is visually stunning. It actually is really close to the CG trailer. Like, I'm not going to say it's identical to the CG trailer at all. All I'm going to say is that when you look at it in-game and you have a representation of what happened in the CG trailer and what happens in-game, it's pretty similar. Like, between the characters not being nearly as small as Injustice when you back up to the, left and right of the stage all the way, the characters are really large. I'd say a little bit larger than MK9, and they're kind of really focusing on the character models. And the presentation itself between the backgrounds, and I think they had around 3 backgrounds we played on in total. Oh my gosh, dude, the pirate ship Cove stage where you're on like a dock and there's like a sunken pirate ship in the background of this big demon rock cliff. It's awesome. Like, seeing it in motion is really damn cool. There's another Coliseum one that looks fantastic, and the snow yard is really good. Like, all the pieces of the environment change like dynamically when you're fighting. They change the look of the characters sometimes when you hit the ground, and it's just good. Like, I don't want to go into it too much because it's hard for you to understand what I'm seeing, because I've seen it at the frame rate it should be seen at and the pixel resolution it should be seen at, and just trust me, this game is visually ridiculous. It's awesome. And in that same vein, there's other opportunities they have to be really cinematic about stuff. Like when you do X-ray moves, when you go into certain like fatalities and stuff, the game does drop frame rate to something of a more cinematic 24 frames per second, because when you're in these actions, this stuff is meant to be cinematic. You have 60 frames per second because it's a better controlling game when you have that much of a frame rate. And just like Injustice, when you go into super moves and stuff like that, the game drops frame rate to have a more cinematic feel. Camera angles change, etc., etc. And all I can say is that along the lines of the presentation and the graphics, holy god, the fatalities in this game and the X-ray moves take Mortal Kombat to like a whole new level that you don't think it could get much worse or much more gory or much more intense than the Mortal Kombat 9 fatalities. Oh my god, when you see some of this stuff in motion in front of you, the level of gore and detail within the gore and all the stuff that they're actually rendering in-game is amazing. It's amazing, and it's disgusting at the same time. Like, there's stuff that it was hard to watch at times. It is that visually squeamish, like, oh my god, did they just do that? As an example, I don't want to ruin these things, you can just imagine this in your head. You see Scorpion do a fatality against Sub-Zero at the end of one of the gameplay trailers. He reaches in the spears, he grabs the middle of his chest out, you see his beating heart on the inside, and then they fall to the ground, and Scorpion was going for a chopping move at their head. You're assuming he's gonna chop his head off, but that isn't actually what he does. He literally chops off like the front of his face, and I kid you not, you see the front of this dude's face slide off like halfway off while it's still talking and moving, and it hits the floor. You see the front part with all the guts in the inside of the face there and the skull, and then you see the top part of the head with the remains of the brain, and then it hits the ground, it flops, the brain like slowly slimes out, hits the ground, the guy's bleeding everywhere, and all you see is like the larynx, like the vocal cords in the back of his throat just moving up and down because he's still trying to scream. That shit, I was like, holy god, like, whoa. that was a little much. Like it's Mortal Kombat. Like it's super Mortal Kombat-y. Like there's no other game can get away with this unless it was Mortal Kombat. So I think that's where they have the perfect audience. Like they have the perfect venue to kind of display this ridiculous gore with something like that. And the gore isn't all like completely in that regard. It's done in a lot of different ways, and it's handled a lot differently than previous Mortal Kombat games, which can be kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of like humorous in a way. Like there's some really brutal ones, like Kung Lao grabbing your legs and ripping you through like the chainsaw blade of his hat. But there's some other ones that are pretty funny. Like they make comical humor of what's going on, and it's ridiculous. It's not like super disgusting, murderous. It's ridiculous. And when I talked to the developers, they did agree with me, and I was mentioning like I feel the tone of this game is a lot darker, like a lot more brooding than the other Mortal Kombat games, which do have an element of humor to them. They're kind of ridiculous to a degree, and they agreed. They said like this Mortal Kombat is going to be much more darker, much more serious, or a bit more in comparison to previous games. I was asking about babalities and things like that had elements of humor, and they couldn't comment on that stuff just yet. But I think that might not have a place in this game. Who knows? I'm just giving my own opinion on this one, but it doesn't feel like that stuff would fit in this Mortal Kombat at all. Like when you see stuff like the fatalities that I've seen, and I can go into more detail, but I just won't. I'm gonna tell you guys, trust me, there's some dark shit. Like there's some brutal dark stuff in some of the fatalities, and there's some pretty funny, awesome stuff at the same time. Some stuff that I don't know if I can talk about involving genitalia, so I'm just gonna hold off on that, and I'm gonna leave it to your imagination. But just trust me, the overall presentation and theme of this game is a lot darker, and it just has the graphics to back it up. It's got really brutal, surgical graphics, I think is what I would call it. Outside of that, presentation-wise, there was some stuff that I wasn't, too thrilled about. The user interface and how, like, the characters have, stamina bars and their health bars and their meters and everything is kind of similar to Injustice and Mortal Kombat 9, which I'm not a huge fan of. I do wish things were more centered screen a little bit, and it is very minimal. They're not going for super hype in this game. They're going for minimal and serious. So it's kind of more akin to Injustice in that regard. And like I said, it's not, I don't want to sing this game's it's total praises before it's even out, but that stuff I don't really agree with, and I let the developers know that some stuff is kind of hard to read on the interface, so that's a very small thing in the regards to the whole game. Talking about the characters, the character designs, especially with the new characters and how they feel. Scorpion and Sub-Zero in certain ways are really similar to previous characters and do a lot of similar stuff at the same time. I was never huge into MK9, but when I see those characters played, they're doing similar things in this game. It just looks a lot better in this game. And between the three other characters, I would love to have their exact names, but they have some pretty quirky names. All I know is that there's Cassie Cage or something like that. Maybe it's Cassandra Cage. She's pretty cool, man. She's like a mixture of, I feel, like Catwoman and Deathstroke, and Jill Valentine as far as her like bodysuit. She's pretty cool, and she's kind of like more fun-loving character. Not really like super fun-loving. She's chewing bubblegum is probably the only thing you can identify as far as how she is a little bit less serious than everyone else. But she's pretty brutal as far as what she does, especially to male characters. The other character was, I believe, Kotal Khan, which was the kind of like the brooding Aztec guy, the really big, buff Aztec guy. Reminds me a lot of Ogre from the Tekken series. But he's a huge lumbering type of character. I didn't get to mess around with him too much, but he's a very large, heavy set type of like punch you a few times and it's gonna freaking hurt. Kind of more difficult to use amongst the rest of the characters, especially the ninjas. So he seems like a tough one, but he's gonna be pretty interesting because I saw a couple of badass combos with him and I'm like, whoa, that looks ridiculous. Other than that, the other character, which is the it's like the giant dude that has like the little like 9-year-old girl on his back or something like that. He's pretty crazy. He's like a mixture of Solomon Grundy. He's a mixture of Bane and Doomsday in some regard, and they were talking about how in this game they want to have a lot of different character archetypes between like zoning characters and characters that are grapplers, like true and hard grapplers, because in Injustice they're pretty much doing first type of like grappling characters in that game, and they didn't really have them in Mortal Kombat before, so they do want to fill these archetypes, these character style archetypes is what they were saying, which is really cool to hear. We'll get a lot of variety in gameplay styles in Mortal Kombat 10, that's for sure. And the last one was the creepy insect girl that's like kind of like a bee. She like manipulates insects in a lot of ways. I forget what her name was. They all have kind of crazy names, but she's like a super fast. Like she's a lot quicker. She's a lot of fun to play, and she's very easy to pick up. And some of her stuff just looks gruesome. Like she pulls out these giant like spider insect legs, and they just go into the gut of your opponent. A lot of that stuff looks pretty gruesome and sounds really gruesome. The sound design in the game is also really good too, especially for the stuff that I could hear. But as far as the music, I didn't hear much of the music at all. It's more of like a brooding background kind of music, although I didn't get to hear too much of it. I can't say too much, but it does remind me a lot of, from what I did hear, of Injustice and Mortal Kombat 9. So don't expect like super techno, you know, don't expect super rock music behind everything. Expect something that fits the tone of the background and the characters, and is meant to make you feel a little bit like darkened by what's going on in the fight in front of you. But yeah, she looks really good, especially because she disintegrates during the fight. She has like this hard outer shell to her character, and it slowly falls into pieces over time. It's pretty freaking nuts. But as far as the gameplay, there's so much to talk about during the gameplay that I can literally go on for about another 15 to 20 minutes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you guys to stay tuned, because there's going to be a part 2 to this complete Mortal Kombat like gameplay and visual breakdown. And the things I want to talk about specifically that I will be talking about in the next part 2 of this video is going to be multiple different styles for each character, how the combo system is, how the juggles feel, how injustice-y the game is, how much from that game is it taking over, and a lot of other stuff regarding controls, the meter burn button, the hold button to block, and stuff, and kind of crazy stuff like meter burned throws into neutral state stances that allow you to combo after them, and run combos. That's right, the game has a run and a stamina gauge. That is, this is stuff that's going to take a while to go over, so stay tuned, guys. Be patient with me. I'm going to get the next video ready as soon as possible when I get a little bit more time, and maybe a little bit more hands-on time to divulge into it, so I get a better understanding of what exactly is going on before I make a breakdown of it. But thanks very much for you guys for watching, and a huge thanks once again to the Netherrealm guys for giving me a chance to just dissect the game like crazy in the time we had. I'd appreciate a thumbs up if you guys have a chance, and stay tuned. More Mortal Kombat 10 coverage, more coverage of the game in general, as well as that part 2 breakdown going into the gameplay, and that one's going to be a freaking doozy. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.